Hello, everyone. I will share with you a little bit about why I started Seacoast Seniors in 2019. And it's because most of you know my background is as a real estate agent. I have 42 years background as a realtor, broker. So throughout my career, each year I was invited into people's homes to come list their property where mom had taken a fall or dad was running around indecent in the front yard. And family, is that you? You're in the right place. And the family had converged over the weekend to plan mom or dad's rest of their life before they went home on Monday. And I was always the last person that they called because, what else was a realtor good for? So they called me and they said, now please sell mom's house and we're going home. And by the way, she'll be sitting in the chair the whole time. And call us when you have an offer. And so I used to wonder, where the heck are the people to help these people? And so I would do the best that I could. I'd visit with mom. You would not believe how many times I had to mediate squabbles between the siblings about something that happened when they were 8 years old. And this was not unusual. This was something that I dealt with continually throughout the years. So finally, about 5 years ago, a little voice in my head said, you need to do something about it. And I said, you've got to be crazy. I was a very busy realtor, and I thought there's just no way, and I don't want to start something new. But of course, the voice wouldn't go away, and I knew that it was something I needed to do. So I started Seacoast Seniors, got certified out of an outfit in Oklahoma, very grueling hands-on course. And when I was through, I started doing these seminars. And so it's been wonderful. During the pandemic, I had to stop doing live seminars. So I spent the next 2 years developing an amazing resource team of senior professionals in the industry that I would recommend without a second thought to anybody in my family. Because one of the things that drove me crazy previously over the years was that by the time people called me, they had already gone to Google and had been Googling frantically for solutions. So now we have the solutions, and we do these seminars to get you educated, but also to connect you with the good guys instead of the bad guys that are prowling on the internet. So we're all on the internet, so there's good guys out there too, don't get me wrong. But it's always nice to know for sure you're calling the right person, right? Statement number 1. There's no way to age successfully. It's just a downhill decline. Who agrees with that? Oh, very few. Okay, you need to come more often. You guys do come sporadically. Okay. The truth is that growing older is part of life. Resilience, optimism, and choosing to help others are ways to age with dignity and spirit. So I expect you guys to be in line for the volunteers. Okay. Just kidding. Okay, number 2. My longevity plan is complete once I've done my will and estate plan or trust. Who agrees with that? Okay. Kudos to you if you have done your will and your trust. I mean, I think that that's fantastic. But the truth is that longevity planning doesn't start there. It focuses not only on what happens after you die, but on your quality of life and how you plan to deal with the inevitable bumps along the way. Okay? That's what Seacoast Seniors is here for. Everybody wants to age in their home, stay in their home until they die. They're going to die in their sleep, and you're going to carry me out feet first, right? In a box. And that just is a lovely way to think. But it's like we're raising a generation of people who believe in Santa Claus. Because 99.9% of you, that's your plan. So the inevitable bumps in the road along the way are when you are just cruising, you're like 85 years old, you're feeling good, you're looking good, and you're busy, you got friends, you're working out, you're eating well, and all of a sudden you trip over your granddaughter's tricycle and kaboom. Now you're in the hospital, you're getting a hip replacement, and just life just gets turned upside down. God forbid you have a stroke or a heart attack or you get a diagnosis. And how many of you know it's not going to the hospital nowadays isn't like it used to be? You know, the emergency room, forget it. But I mean, and then you get admitted into the hospital, your kids start staggering over, you know, from wherever they live to visit with you. And the hospital says, yeah, we're going to release them in about 10 days. So you're like, okay, good, let's all get together. Susie, you come over from New York. Johnny, you come up from San Diego. We're all going to get together and we're going to go out to dinner and then we're going to decide what to do with mom. And then the next day, somebody from the hospital calls and says, oops, sorry, not 2 weeks. We meant Friday, this Friday, which is in 2 days. And mom can't go home, so you're going to have to find a place for her to go. Okay, that's when the scrambling starts. That's when people go to Google because they don't know who the heck to call. And so if you are not already in touch with some of the people that we connect you with, call us, call Nancy Pewter at Seacoast Seniors, and I will do the best I can to help you during the crises. Our best scenario is when you do your homework ahead of the crises. We want you to have a plan B. It's okay to plan on living in your house forever and dying in your sleep. But the truth is 70% of people do not get to live in their home forever. And so let's start working on a plan B just in case. And that's really the main part of what Seacoast Seniors is about. That's the messy part, the period between when things aren't going quite as you planned and when you die. That can sometimes be 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 or 20 years. So this is not a period that you want to ignore of your life that you do not want to ignore. Number 3, staying in my home at all costs proves that I'm still independent, by God. Okay. Well, the truth is that true independence is learning of options, deciding what's best, writing a plan, and staying interconnected no matter where you live. Okay? Number 4, there's no need for a memorial service after I'm gone so that my family won't have to pay for it, and I'll be dead anyway, and I really don't care what anybody has to say about me. Okay, I'm ad-libbing a little bit here. So the truth is if you plan it right, your funeral or celebration of life can give you the final word. How many times would you like to have the last word with your family, the little stinkers? And it's an opportunity to share your legacy purposefully. So I know there are a few things I would like to say at my celebration of life. And I'm going to make sure whoever's going to be talking knows about it. I'm going to be like Aretha Franklin. Do you know she had 3 costume changes during her funeral? I thought that was the coolest thing I ever heard. I'm like, go Aretha, the queen of rock and roll. Oh my gosh, 3 costume changes. I talk about having the last word, right? Oh my gosh, I'd have to live long to top that one. Okay, question number 5. My power of attorney gives my family permission to take care of my affairs after I'm gone. So the truth is, your power of attorney expires when you do. Not everybody knows that. A lot of people think, well, my daughter's got a power of attorney, so whatever happens from here on out, the rest of my life, and after I'm gone, she can, did you tell her to put a star there? So, no, the power of attorney does expire when you do. So there's other things that should be put in place. Number 6, all hospice providers are the same. Hospice providers are independent from one another. They are not all the same. Some are better than others, and some are just better suited for your particular situation. Some of them are for profit, and some of them are for nonprofit. So that is definitely something that you want to keep in mind. And speaking of hospice, I love it when I have you, I would never advertise that we're going to talk about hospice. Do you know why?
No one would come.
No one would come. Yeah, no one would come. So what I do is I get you in here, take you hostage, and then I share a few things about hospice. So number 7, my doctor will let me know when and if I need hospice. The truth is, many doctors wait for the patient to bring it up, and families and patients often say that they wish they had enrolled in hospice earlier. I'm going to get off hospice here in a minute, so bear with me. Oh, I'm off. Okay. Number 8, age makes us grouchy as we get older. Well, many people think that age is somehow responsible for their attitude or bad behavior. The truth is that people use age as an excuse for being grumpy, tired, and disengaged. It is not a given, it's a built-in excuse. So you do with that what you want. If you still want to be grouchy, we still love you. Okay, number 9, dying is free and easy. This one was a real shocker to me when I, because I didn't know anything when I started Seacoast Seniors. Talk about just jumping into it. And I've been learning right along with you, and 6 months into it, I realized, oh my God, I'm a senior. I'm a senior too. So honestly, that was a surprise. I hadn't made the connection. So the truth is that people, as I said earlier, they fantasize that they're going to die in their sleep and everything else will take care of itself. The truth is, when people avoid pre-planning, others are burdened with the many remaining details. And I can't tell you how often I'm talking the adult children of older adults off a ledge, much more often than I am the older adult. So everybody thinks because their kids have psychology degrees or they're big business people and own corporations or they're just very organized. They all think that they're naturally going to know what to do. And when these kids are, when I have conversations with these kids, they're just a mess and they're overburdened. And with all of us living older, a lot of times our kids are 75 years old. So those kids, have got their own issues. And then the younger ones, they've got families and soccer games and everything else. And so it really is quite a burden if you avoid the pre-planning. At this point, I would like to invite Alex Morris to come up. Alex is a life care manager, also known as a geriatric care manager, but life care manager is a little easier on the ears, I think. And I'm going to have her introduce herself, and she's going to help us with the next few questions.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for inviting me. Always a pleasure. So how many of you who have not already spoken to me already have heard of a geriatric care manager or aging life care professional? Raise your hand. 3, 4.
Hardly anyone.
Right, hardly anyone. So we are a profession that needs better marketing, let me just say that. Okay. So what we do is we help folks through just what you were describing, those years where there are challenges, where you trip over the bicycle, when you get a diagnosis of some sort, things are starting to happen. There's a wonderful book called Another Country by Mary Piper. Another Country by Mary Piper. She talks about the difference between young old and old old. Young old is whatever age you are, and you're doing fine. You're doing all the things that you want to do with your life, or most of the things. Maybe with adaptations, probably with adaptations, because we all need to make changes as we get older, or at least we should. Old is when you start to get sick or injured, and then quickly everything can change. We like to get involved when you're the young old, so we can help you avoid a crisis, as you talked about so eloquently. I've been doing this work for 30 years. I ran an adult daycare center. We have one in Paso and in Santa Maria. I was a long-term care ombudsman. How many of you know what an ombudsman is? A few of you, great. An ombudsman is a nation program that has volunteers and paid staff that go into long-term care facilities and advocate for the rights of the people who live there. I work for the Alzheimer's Association as their lead trainer for 21 years, so I am a dementia expert. But we also serve lots of people, whatever the diagnosis might be, or injury. And that's me, and again, thank you for having me.
Well, thank you, Alex. We're so glad you're here. Okay, so I'm going to ask Alex to comment on a couple of these questions here and there, but we don't want to spend too much time because we have a lot to cover. So I might kind of run through a couple and then ask you to comment on a few, okay? So number 10, hospice is about treating the dying person. Who agrees with that? You guys are a lot smarter than my usual group, so I guess the smart ones came. This is being videotaped, so I'm just kidding, people. Okay, the truth is that hospice is a gift that you can give to your caregivers and your family members. Many of the services are for the family and extend beyond the patient's death. Number 11, sadly, some people don't have a legacy to leave. Who believes that? Now, the truth is that everyone leaves a legacy. Some are just more purposeful about it than others. Okay, I'm going to switch this next one over to Alex. I like to call her Alexandra because it's such a beautiful name, but everybody calls her Alex, so I'll oblige. But she's such an expert and has had so much experience with dementia. How would you answer this statement? You should correct a person with dementia when they make a verbal mistake.
The answer is almost always 100% of the time, no. I used to lead an early stage support group. These are people with early stage, they knew they had it, and they were willing to talk about it. In that circumstance, I would ask, if you say something which is not quite clear, or if you're having trouble completing your thought, but I think I know where you were going, do you want me to help you or not? And they would answer. But for the most part, certainly when someone is in moderate to late stage, correcting someone just makes them feel bad. Who here likes to be corrected, right? Nobody, I don't. So please, if you think that you're orienting them, okay, that's not the case. You're frustrating them.
Thank you, Alex. Mike is over here having Carol take notes. I'm sorry. I can hear you talking. I know what you're saying. Okay, so here are the 6 don'ts of what not to do with dementia patients. Don't reason, don't argue, don't confront, don't remind them of what they forget, don't question their recent memory, and don't take it personally. A lot of times, my experience being in homes with people that have, one spouse has the dementia and the other person doesn't, they're constantly correcting them or even yelling at them because they keep getting it wrong. And it just creates a very tense situation, and it never is a good way to go. So, the next question is, okay, this is a common statement that I hear, and I'm very interested to hear Alex's take on it. Because someone in my family has dementia, I'm going to get it. What do you say?
I say no. I say if any of you have any concerns, that you meet me after the seminar and we can talk about your unique situation, because you are a unique person. You are not your parents. Yeah, maybe you got some, well, you definitely got some genes from them, right? But did you get those genes? And did you live the way that they lived? In my parents' time, smoking was very common. And smoking, by the way, is the #1 lifestyle factor, risk factor. There's a lot of risk factors that I have not engaged in, and some I have. You are all individual people, and if you have concerns, please pull me aside at the end. I'm happy to talk to you.
Thank you, Alex. And how would you answer this statement? A diagnosis of dementia means my life is over.
My answer is absolutely not. Most people have a lot of time to plan, time to enjoy their families and themselves, stay engaged. There's a local gentleman who lives in Santa Maria where I live, Tony Gonzalez. He was diagnosed at 49. He is very engaged with the Alzheimer's Association, getting the word out there and helping get resources for research. You can volunteer, you can, live your best life for a long time.
So how many of you have heard people say, oh, she's losing it? Yeah, have you talked to Mom lately? I think she's losing it. My kids say that. I was just wondering if any of your family does that. But, a lot of times this is a statement that the more I learn, being, part of the Seacoast Seniors, is how untrue this statement is. And it's number 15 where it says, aging inevitably means losing mental sharpness. That is absolutely bogus. And again, I think that's one of those built-in excuses, like for being grouchy. So it's like, oh yeah, no, I'm older now, bear with me. And it's an excuse for being lazy. So the truth, I believe, is that while some cognitive changes can occur with age, significant memory loss is not an inevitable part of aging. Many adults maintain their mental sharpness and can continue learning new things throughout life, dispelling the notion that you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Okay? So I was really glad to have that one in there. Would you like to add to that, Alex?
No, I think you said it very well.
I wanted to do that one myself because I like the way I worded it. Okay. I'm going to get some credit. Okay, number 16. Older adults cannot learn new things or use technology. True?
Not true. But we have to put in some effort, don't we? Learning new things requires effort. And by the way, the brain loves novelty. So if you wanted to master your new laptop, you want to master your cell phone, you want to pick up an instrument, but you can tell your spouse, Alex says it's okay for me to play the guitar. Okay, if you're interested in learning a new language, or at least enough of a language to travel a bit, okay, the brain loves that. So novel activities, loves it.
Wonderful. Okay, well now I am going to ask Eddie San Jose from Envoy Mortgage to join us and help us with the remaining 3 questions. Sam, where would you like me? Is this good? Okay. Eddie, would you introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'd be happy to.
Oh, yes, of course.
I've been wanting to get Eddie up here for a long time. He's very, very busy. He has been around. I've known Eddie for over 20 years. Yeah,
Yeah.
long, long, long time.
Yeah.
And he's a wonderful guy. Okay.
Thank you.
So why don't you introduce yourself and then
Okay.
we'll
Well, before I
continue.
introduce myself, I have one more question I want to add to her, questions for you.
Hold it up here like
So, is it true that most hip injuries are the result of doing the twist? I think that was my myth. That's why I didn't get up and do it this morning. I didn't want to hurt myself. Okay. Yeah, so my name is Eddie San Jose. I'm with Envoy Mortgage, and I have been in banking and finance. I was actually doing the adding up the years as I was sitting here, because I always say I've been doing it for over 30 years. I've actually been doing that for 46 years. So I was 5 years old when I started. I do every kind of mortgage you can imagine, from mostly traditional forward mortgages. Also do equity lines and also specialize in reverse mortgages. And so I've been doing that for quite a few years. And so the next few questions we're going to go over is going to talk about some of those myths that you might think or believe, and would love to answer any questions you might have. So thank you for letting me be here.
Perfect, Eddie. So we are on question number 16. Nope, sorry. We are on question number 17. If I get a reverse mortgage on my home, the bank will own it. How would you answer that?
So I would disagree with that. And I actually have a personal experience going on right now. My wife's uncle is turning 91 this month, lives down in Huntington Beach. His property is free and clear, and he is one of those other questions that he just wants to live in his house forever. And he's getting to the point where he really should not be doing that. I mean, if he took a fall and no one knew that he fell, he could be there for days before anyone would find out and be able to help him. One of the things we're looking to do for him is to get him a reverse mortgage, so that he can use that money for whatever reason he wants to use it. But if he needs to fix up his home to help him to continue to live his home for a few years longer, we are hoping that he wants to move up here because he really doesn't have any family in Huntington Beach. We have 2 daughters, his grandchildren. We call them grandchildren because he was like my daughter's dad, excuse me. And so they're very, very close. So we want him to be up here so he can be by our daughters and then also by our grandchildren. And so we're looking to do that for him. He is in agreement to do that, which is like we almost fell out of our chair when he finally agreed to do that, but we're very excited about it as well. And so we are looking to do a reverse mortgage for him. I had talked to his brother about it, just so he knew what a reverse mortgage was all about. And then the brother talked to this uncle, Nick, and he immediately told him that, well, you know that you're not gonna own that mortgage anymore. It's gonna be the bank's. I'm like, oh my gosh, what did I tell you? That does not happen. So you will always be the owner of that property.
Thank you, Eddie. Yes. So the reverse mortgage is a loan that uses your home as collateral, just like any other loan, but the ownership remains with you. Is everybody okay with me just sitting here while Eddie's up there, so I don't keep traveling over by the other thing? Okay, the next question, question number 18, is only low-income people get reverse mortgages.
And that, again, is a false question. There are many people that get reverse mortgages for all types of reasons. 2030 is when the last baby boomers are going to be turning 65. And a lot of baby boomers, unfortunately, and I'm a baby boomer, didn't put enough money aside and get ready for retirement. But what a lot of them did do was they bought a home back when prices were very, very low, and they have a lot of equity in there. And for a lot of people, the biggest investment you have is the home that you may have purchased years and years ago. And this is something that can help you to survive as you are on a fixed income, or if you have special needs that you need to take care of, or if you want to, start traveling. People use reverse mortgages to take a trip. I did one for a client up in Cayucas, very wealthy clients, doing very, very well settled, but they had a small mortgage on their home. We paid that off. And then first thing they did, they've always wanted to take a cruise to Alaska. So that's what they did. So.
Right, and there are a lot of people that do want to age in their home, and for those people that have decided no matter what, that's what they're doing. Even when you look at the cost of moving to a senior community versus staying in your home, the difference is astronomical, but that's another seminar or phone conversation if you want to give me a call. But one of the things that you might want to use the money that you get from the reverse mortgage is to make sure that your home is a safe place to age in, and that can cost some money. So, and I have a lot of seniors, Eddie, who are living only on their Social Security, and then their spouse passes away, and now they don't even have their spouse's Social Security to add to their own. So they are living on shockingly low amounts of monthly income. And this is really concerning to me when I see people who've worked hard, they've served our country, they've just worked so hard their whole life. They bought the house back when they've got $6-8 million even sometimes in equity. And but they're still living like that, thinking that they want to leave it to their kids or whatnot. I, for one, believe wholeheartedly that most kids that are worth having are going to be thrilled to death that you have the money to live comfortably, so that they don't have to worry about it if for no other reason. So reverse mortgages, for the right person, they're not for everybody, but for the right person, are definitely the way to go. And so I just can't say enough good things about them. There's a lot of people out there willing to give you unsolicited advice and tell you that they're bad, but nowadays they are insured by FHA. They're FHA insured loans. So they're not the reverse mortgages that you heard about years ago. So how about this one, Eddie? Let's see, number 19. If I get a reverse mortgage, my heirs will be stuck with the loan after I die.
Again, that is false. The heirs are never stuck with the reverse mortgage. So what would happen if the person passes, if it was put into a trust, that is always going to be in the name of that trust, and then whoever's going to handle that trust will take care of doing one of a few options. They can either buy out the reverse mortgage, pay off the balance if they have the funds to do that. They can get a loan themselves and then use that to pay off the balance of the reverse mortgage. In a worst case scenario, let's say the value for some reason, in California we don't really see this, but if it dropped way, way down, and now you owe more than what is the value of the property, you still don't owe money. So at that point, they even put in a little cushion in there that the heirs will still get some money out of that. So they walk away without having to pay anything, in a reverse mortgage. So the heirs are protected in that way.
And you hear me talk about the good guys and the bad guys often at the seminars. I advise you not to go online and Google reverse mortgages, and because whoever you get is going to be trained to get you to apply for the mortgage. Having somebody like Eddie in this kind of a situation is absolutely critical. So Eddie will take the time. You have to go through a pre-qualification process. And I would like to ask you right now, Eddie, because I know a lot of people are thinking this, if they live in a mobile home where they pay park rent, would they be eligible for a reverse mortgage?
If it's a park rent, I'm not certain on that because I have not done one of those. If you own the land, I know absolutely you can do that.
So I
Right.
found out.
I'm gonna have to, oh, okay,
I found out because I had a few people asking me that.
Okay.
So I'm gonna save you here.
thank you.
You
I'm gonna learn something, that's why I come here
yeah,
too.
well, that's why we're a team. That's why we all work together, right? So, yeah, that is a no-go. Yeah, the reverse mortgage are for real estate. And when you own a mobile home, even though it's a nice way to go, you are still renting from the park. So not, will not qualify for a reverse mortgage. But there are other things. What are some of the basic qualifications to qualify, and how much equity, et cetera,
Yeah, so you have to
do
be
you need?
62, and what I tell people when I meet with them, if you're 62 or 63 and you're looking for a reverse mortgage, in a reverse mortgage world, you're considered almost like a teenager. And so the reason I say that is, one, I always try to make people laugh and smile, put them at ease. But secondly, if you're 62, 63, you're not going to be able to get the same amount of money out on a reverse mortgage as you would someone that's 75 or 80. I had one of my people that I work with did one for someone that was like 98 years old. And it was, thank God the person did that, because his wife outlived him, and that was the only money that she would have had they not done that. But so really, you're going to get somewhere between 30 to 70% of the equity out of your home, which is a good thing that it's not 100%, because that way there's always equity in there, and your balance is going to go up over time if you have a balance. Some people get a line of credit, and they may never use it. They use it like as an insurance policy to have that money available. But if you do use that, that is going to accrue interest over time. And what people don't often think about is at the same time, your home is going to continue to appreciate. We can show you amortization schedules that show a very conservative, and you can testify to this, Nancy, we use 4% as the annual appreciation. In California, it usually appreciates much more than that over time. So typically, there's always going to be some equity that will be left over because, one, you're not getting the full amount of the value, and also the home is going to appreciate over time, so that there will be money left over for heirs.
Thank you, Eddie. I know you. You're such a good person. You have a great family. You've been around for a long time. You have a fantastic reputation. I know that you would not specialize in reverse mortgages unless you felt that they were an extremely instrumental part of a person's portfolio, certain people's portfolio, and the right answer. Is that correct?
Absolutely. A reverse is not for everyone. We did have a client that we did a reverse for a year ago, and this person, we had a tough time getting him qualified for it because had a lot of consumer debt. And the only way he was going to get out of that, other than claiming bankruptcy, was to do a reverse mortgage. And it changed him and his wife's life by being able to do that. We're actually looking at now at doing a refinance on that, because you can refinance a reverse mortgage. You usually have to wait at least a year, but because the rates have gone down, now they'll be able to take advantage of a lower rate and get a lower rate on the reverse mortgage.
Thank you, Eddie. We're going to open it up for a 10 to 15 minute Q&A. I always try to keep it short because our panelists are always willing to stay and talk to you afterwards, and we like to get you out of here so you don't get bored and don't come back. And so as I open it up for the question and answer period, Mackenzie, where are you? Would you pass out the myths and truths handouts so we don't forget, and they can take those with them when they go. So, who has a question? The question that Ted says, and I can relate to that, and that's a great question. The question is, Ted's worked really hard all of his life to pay off his mortgage. I think we should have mortgage burning parties, don't you guys? I mean, I really think we should bring those back. He was saying that why would somebody want to get, in the beginning, why would somebody want to get a reverse mortgage when they worked their whole life to pay off their loan? now they're putting another loan on their property. Why would they want to do that, Eddie? Any ideas?
Yeah, so that's a great question, Ted, and I think that you're not the only one that has that question. So what I think is important is to know that if you look at your financial picture and do you have enough assets to survive if you need a heart surgery? The reverse mortgage can be the solution for that if you don't have other assets available to help you with that. People always wanted, not everyone, but a lot of people that I speak with, their goal was to not have a mortgage, and pay off that mortgage. But that mortgage, by doing that, and I can tell you that, again, my wife's uncle, free and clear, his biggest concern about getting a reverse mortgage is he wants my wife to get the money from that home that he owns. And my wife, that's like her first priority is taking care of her uncle and making sure that he's doing everything he can to survive the remainder of his life and do it in a nice lifestyle and not have to like all of a sudden cut down because he's on a fixed income. And so it's limiting how he can live his life. Did that answer your question for you? Sort of. Okay.
I hear people quote the Bible about, that a man should leave his children an inheritance. I think a lot of people think that means it's financial stuff. So they should live like paupers so that they, can leave the house to their kids. And I feel that scripture means that you want to leave them an inheritance, which is an example of how to live your life and to live it, with love, etc. I don't think it's necessarily a financial reference. So I do hear people say that, and it just breaks my heart when I see people living hand to mouth when they're sitting on $800,000 or more of equity in their home. So that's just me. Yes?
Do I understand correctly, you have to have paid off the first mortgage to get a reverse mortgage?
Do you have to pay off the first mortgage to get a reverse mortgage? That's a great question.
Yeah, great question, and that would be a great myth one, but no, you don't. So typically, if you're getting, you can be a line of credit, it can be a loan that you're taking out as the reverse. The first draw, if you're doing a line of credit, would be to pay off the balance of your mortgage. So
it could come out in your favor if you have a low original house payment, but the reverse mortgage could bring in more than what you owe on the house.
Correct, yes.
Correct.
And the other thing too is...
The question, I'm going to repeat his question.
Yeah.
He's just saying, so it could actually work in your favor if you work the numbers, so that, your payment was low before, but you could still work with the numbers to make it a favorable scenario for you, right?
Right. And in addition to that, even if you have a low interest rate, you're no longer going to have a mortgage payment. So let's say you're paying $1,800 for principal and interest on your existing mortgage. You get the reverse mortgage. Now you don't have a mortgage payment, and you have that $1,800 that you were paying towards your mortgage to help with your monthly expenses, put it into investments, whatever you want to do with that.
So these are great questions. We have time for one more. And Alex is here to answer questions too, not just Eddie. Anybody? Okay. Oh, Robert.
One question. There is on the reverse mortgages, I understand, a clause of residency of the person who is named on the mortgage.
Great question.
If you, like the gentleman in back, does need a heart transplant, and immediately after that he is transferred to a skilled nursing facility because of complications, and he can't move back into his house, how long does he have before the bank will execute the clause and execute the trust deed and repossess the house and sell it?
Okay, let me repeat that question. I know what he's saying. So when he's asking if you have to leave your home, and it was an unplanned move out of your home, say you're in a senior care facility now, and you're not able to return home, how long, because you have to be a resident of the home, these don't apply to non-owner occupied properties, these loans. So how long would the person have to, pay off the loan because he no longer would be living there?
Yeah, so the answer to that question is 6 months you have, but I have seen cases where they've actually extended that another 6 months. And so it is possible to even get it extended where it's a year. And they wouldn't repossess the home. Again, it's going to be, they can sell the home and still get the equity out of that home, or children can step in and help out with getting a loan and refinancing that. So are some ways to avoid that as well if they do want to try to keep that home.
In most cases, it's been my experience, because as you know, I've been doing what I do for a long time. Most of the time, if you put the property on the market, you are going to probably come out okay and still have some money left over, depending on how many years you've had that reverse mortgage. So yeah, it's like, do I want to feel good and be able to buy that dress when I want to, or take that trip, or, go do something fun, buy that thing I always wanted but just can't afford to? Do I want to do that now and enjoy my life a little bit, or do I want to suffer needlessly? And I know some of us do have that martyr syndrome going on, so I can't address that today, another day. So I'm a real big believer in it, but again, not for everybody.
Yeah.
So, okay, everybody will be here afterwards to answer any of the questions that you have.